Well, yeah, in 50 years, you'll see all the blue states will have single payer, and they'll be doing fine in their economies, and
Right.
no one will be declaring bankruptcy over inability to pay medical costs anymore, and the red states will be still sucking more money away from the blue states that give more as it is now.
Well, I think if you look at, I forget what the site is, and you can look it up online, but that site that shows by the dollar how much goes out of a state and how much comes in is really stunning. That most of the states that want to deny the rest of us rights and privileges live off of our rights and privileges, because New York and you've got New York and California and Texas in some ways paying for Kansas and Arkansas and Montana and Alabama and Mississippi, because their output is so much lower. They put for every dollar they put into the federal taxes, they get back $1.50. For every dollar that New York puts in, they get back about 65 cents.
Exactly right. When Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House railing against New York, out.
Right.
So they're leeching off us for a long time.
With a volume of people that makes that number even more extreme. That's the funny part, is that you've got the state, these counties like his, where there's so many fewer people getting so much more money, and then you've got huge states with lots of populations that are really, and it's amazing. I got to say, it's amazing that our big municipalities manage to stay lit half the time because of the drain that comes from the states that don't want to be American.
Exactly. Now, look, I watched all the debate on C-SPAN, and I watched the vote, and I acknowledge, this bill sucks so hard my TV got a hickey, okay? The Democrats could have put the public option back in there and used reconciliation to pass it with just 51 votes. They could have done it if they wanted. They didn't. I know that we have democracy now where 59 senators are controlled by 41, and this health care bill is like if you got every passenger safely off the Titanic and put them on a much nicer sinking ship. But the fact is, it's something to build on,
right?
And good will come from it. And yes, it's a big giveaway to the insurance companies and big pharma. But we don't know what the master plan is. And again, look at how angry the Republicans are. If it is that much of a giveaway to insurance companies, they'd be dancing in the streets over this thing like they were for Afghanistan.
Right.
Just remember at all times, if Obama found the cure to cancer, the Republicans would ask why he hates chemotherapy.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the issues that we can't lose sight of, really, is that there, incremental change. If you get off the Titanic onto a lifeboat, if you were in the middle of the Atlantic and you had a choice between two boats, if you didn't know the Titanic was sinking at the time, because you can't tell right away, you'd want to be on that boat because it looks bigger and more stable. It's also what you're used to. You would not want to be in a rickety little boat for a while hoping a bigger boat comes along. But the truth is, you would be safer in that one.
And look, folks, when people keep talking about socialism, look, if you're afraid of competition from a public option, you're not a capitalist.
Right.
If you don't want to have the same kind of system that every industrialized capitalist society has, what's wrong with you? If you're afraid of competition, you're not a capitalist.
Right.
If you don't want to save American lives, you're not a patriot. And if you don't believe in helping the sick, do us all a favor and stop calling yourself a Christian.
Right. That's the stunning part, is that they want to use two hammers, essentially: fiscal conservatism, which is just a mask for corporatism, and Christianity, or a moral high hand, Judeo-Christian values, which is shorthand, by the way, for if I want to seem lovey-dovey, I use New Testament speak, and if I want to seem fire and brimstone, I'll use Old Testament speak, and it allows me to kind of move back and forth at whim, and I can say, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, and an eye for a tooth for a tooth if I want to deal with the death penalty or something.
Yeah.
But I'll whip out, love thy neighbor if I want to on Sunday afternoons, because I'm just talking about my actual neighborhood.
Well, the tragedy with American Christianity right now is that they only believe in three Jesuses: baby Jesus, dead Jesus, and undead Jesus.
Right.
And that's it. These are folks in America, not all Christians, of course, but the dialogue
ones who
is being
unfortunately
controlled.
The ones who have seized control of it.
They're the ones who I call them Christians in name only, or chinos. A lot of them are wrinkled chinos.
Which, by the way, are out of style and continue to be out of style.
Well, these are the folks who only know the parts of the Old Testament and then Book of Revelations, and they ignore everything Christ talked about. Folks, Jesus was the biggest socialist that ever lived. It's painful to hear it. However, the guy drove the capitalists out of the temple. He said rich people can't go to heaven. He told you to pay your taxes. He didn't own any property, and he never asked a leper for a copay.
Right. Yeah, and but the funny thing is if you bring that up, they'll actually argue that that's sort of an unfair argument, like almost as if if you're not Christian or you're not their kind of Christian, you're not allowed to even venture into that argument.
Oh, but you are. Oh,
yeah.
but we must. We have to. Listen, I'm a big believer in taking the flag back from the creeps and taking Jesus back from the hypocrites.
Yep.
Okay, they don't own God and they don't own you.
Right.
And God is way too cool to ever belong to one of his own fan clubs. Okay?
Right.
These are
the old Groucho Marx line. Yeah.
Exactly. These are the people who pridefully speak for God and use the Bible to get their own way. And it's time now for decent people, whether you are of faith or if you're agnostic or atheist, know what Jesus said. That is how you shut these clowns up at the dinner table every Christmas.
Well, I think in some ways, and this is, obviously there's an element of branding. I think the reason why monotheistic religions actually took off in society as governmental type of entities grew was that they were the easiest way to control people. If you had a pantheistic society and everybody believed in, a general, we all have the same belief, but this is my God, that's your God. They're all demigods to one dude, but we don't really talk to him. I'm more in the Aphrodite zone. You can, run around with it. It's a little harder to corral people and tell them what to do. But when you have a monotheistic society, that also dovetails nicely into dictatorships and totalitarianism. And
sure. And we all, look, the audience of Steph's show, aside from being the most sexually attractive audience in the history of radio, I don't need to tell them all the history of the terrible things religion has done, but this is a fight I have with Bill Maher all the time, is we have no way of measuring how many murders and rapes and crimes were not committed because of religion.
Right.
How many people didn't sin and wound someone else because of a fear of hell, superstitious though it might be.
Well, people, they used to count on that. That was the essence of government for a very long time. Before we had rule of law and we had genuine prisons and all that kind of thing, one of the only things that could keep the superstitious in check was that. We got to take a break. Let me go to a break, and we'll come right back with more with John Fugelsang, because quite frankly, it's the holidays and you guys deserve it. You deserve more John Fugelsang than you have had in the last 2 weeks.